Well, as we know, life happens, and you can sometimes find yourself in a stressful situation, either at home or maybe on the job. Jessica recently talked with an expert on how you can create a constant state of calm.
Life can bring unexpected challenges. You may want to take a mental health day from work, but sometimes that's not really even an option. Our next guest is a licensed marriage and family therapist who shares tips on how you can manage stress and change your way of thinking. We welcome Marianne Clyde back to our show. It's great to see you, Marianne.
Thanks. Good to be here.
This is an important conversation to have because I've heard the phrase taking a mental health day for a long, long time. And it's one of those things that we usually don't do. Or can't find the time to, and that's when it's most critical.
Right. We all have the need sometimes. You just want to take a day off. And pretty often, I think most people do it from time to time. They might not call it a mental health day. They might call it a sick day. They might lie and say they're going to a doctor's appointment. They might just take a vacation day. But it's important to take time off when you need to. But like you said, you can't always do that.
The pressure builds for a long, long time, and then it is go time, and this really needs to happen.
Yeah.
How can you start identifying when it is time to do it? Maybe get ahead of it?
That's a great question, because you might find yourself snapping at coworkers. You might find yourself really, really lethargic or really tired because emotional weights really do weigh us down and make us weary. Maybe you're not sleeping as well as you used to, and you're starting to experience signs of anxiety or depression. And it's important at that time to notice what's going on in your body so that you can do something as simple as begin to take a deep breath once in a while, or take a walk. You know, even just walk outside for a few minutes is helpful.
Yeah, this happens often, and it can create that environment, especially at work when you're spending a good deal of your waking time there, forming an us versus them mentality too. And
Absolutely.
that you then take home, and it just perpetuates.
That's right. And that's something that happens in the brain, that when your brain's not functioning fully, it creates more of an us and them mentality, which you can see a lot of that happening these days in the news and on Facebook. God forbid, you know. But it's really, really important to notice when that's happening so that you can begin to create habits that change your brain, such as meditation, such as a gratitude practice. I encourage people, say 3 things before you get out of bed in the morning that you're grateful for, or 3 things before you go to bed at night. Really, really important to begin to be grateful for what is good, what you do have, what is positive, because otherwise you end up in this spiral of despair.
Yeah.
Getting sucked into the drama of the moment.
And we've all been there. I mean, we've all been there. You mentioned, you know, we've already talked about how important it is to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
I have to be conscientious about that very often, and can start to recognize those signs.
Yeah.
Getting more sleep is a good thing.
Yeah.
Trying to, you know, we all have ways that we can cope. You mentioned starting the habits. You cover a lot of this in your book in terms of managing this kind of a stress and working to make the most of a mental health day. If you can't take one, you mentioned gratitude, meditation, some other habits?
Again, walking outside, just being outside makes a big difference. Getting that vitamin D from the sun, walking in the woods if you can, because did you know that when you stir up dirt, like when you're gardening or walking in the woods and shuffling the leaves, that it releases microbes that have similar properties to Prozac? So that's why it's good for kids to play outside and not be so sterile all the time, and good for us to play in the garden sometimes.
I did not know that. That's pretty interesting. I've heard about, you know, releasing it, but I didn't know that the reaction was the same way. If you're just getting started, maybe what are the top 3 easiest habits to get into to really de-escalate the situation so that we don't continue to spiral?
Okay, if you're in this situation and you need to de-escalate, you're right. You have to get some coping mechanisms right off the bat. And breathing is really, really important, because even if you're having an interview, say, with somebody who gets contentious and you have to kind of maintain your zen at the moment, it's really important. You can sit there and breathe in, hold it, and breathe out. They don't even have to know you're calming yourself, but deep breathing exercises is my #1 go-to.
An instantaneous change.
It really does. It slows your brain down and helps you think better. Paying attention, grounding yourself, such as paying attention to the fabric of the chair, paying attention to that smell of French fries in the air, paying attention to what you're hearing in the distance, even if it's just the hum of the air conditioner or the heater. Very important to pay attention to your immediate surroundings and bring your senses into this moment. And you can do that in a meeting or when you're having an argument with someone.
Great insight. Marianne, thank you so much.
Oh, pleasure to be here.
Appreciate it. We will
Thank
post
you.
a link so that you can learn more. It is definitely important, Marianne. Thanks for sharing with us.
Thanks for having me.